So friends, the Republicans in the House of Representatives decided they were going to hold a congressional hearing at which they were going to give former Twitter executives a piece of their mind. What happened? Well, the former Twitter executives ended up making the Republican members of Congress look foolish. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, I don't know if you got the chance to watch any of the truly embarrassing congressional hearings called by the House Republicans involving Twitter. Why did they call this hearing? Well, it was for the truly outrageous Twitter misconduct of, are you ready for this? Twitter temporarily blocking, and when I say temporarily, for just 24 hours, temporarily blocking a link to a New York Post story about, you guessed it, Hunter Biden's laptop. And because Twitter blocked that link for just 24 hours, the Republicans in the House demanded congressional hearings. And boy, did the Twitter executives that the Republicans called in to testify embarrass the House Republicans. Here is an article that was written by USA Today relating some of the highlights, or for the House Republicans, let's call them the lowlights of this absurd congressional hearing. Headline: Hunter Biden laptop story inflames House lawmakers. 7 takeaways from the Twitter hearing. Former Twitter executives told the House Oversight Committee and Accountability Committee the company blocked links to the New York Post story in October 2020 because of similarities to the posting of leaks from hacked Democratic computers before the 2016 election. The executives called the 24-hour suspension a mistake and said it was difficult to judge between contentious and dangerous speech during a campaign. And one of the former Twitter executives testified at the hearing as follows, quote, "Our judgment was colored by the experience of 2016 and by the very real Russian activities we saw play out that year," said Yoel Roth, Twitter's former global head of trust and security. Think about it, friends. In the run-up to the 2016 election, Donald Trump expressly asked Russia to help him, corruptly, win the 2016 election. Remember, hey, Russia, if you're listening, I could use a little help here. And Twitter said, its decision in 2020 to just temporarily pause or block for 24 hours a link to a New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop, that decision was informed by the actual Russian interference and propaganda from which Donald Trump benefited in 2016. The USA Today article continues, and speaking of embarrassment, the topic turns to Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan says, "I think you guys got played by the FBI," said Representative Jim Jordan. But yeah, one of the former Twitter executives that Jim Jordan dragged into this congressional hearing said the following, quote, "I am aware of no unlawful collusion with or direction from any government agency or political campaign on how Twitter should have handled the Hunter Biden laptop situation," said James Baker, Twitter's former deputy general counsel. So Jim Jordan might think in that head of his that you got played by the FBI, but the actual witness testimony from the witnesses that Jordan and his merry band of, fellow committee members insisted come in and testify at this Twitter hearing refuted Jim Jordan's beliefs, what was going on in that head of his. Well, let the embarrassment continue, because then the topic turns to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene blasted Twitter executives for banning her from the site in 2022 until after she won her election in November, and she said she was glad the former executives lost their jobs. What a swell person. Greene argued that the company, Twitter, violated her First Amendment rights by censoring her for posts about COVID-19 vaccines, despite Twitter being a private company rather than a government censor, and again, a former Twitter executive that they asked to testify, Yoel Roth, Twitter's former global head of trust and security, said, actually, Greene was banned after multiple warnings and timeouts for posting misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines. Okay, friends, I have to circle back to Marjorie Taylor Greene saying out loud, Twitter violated my First Amendment rights. Marjorie, can I call you Marge? You need to read the First Amendment. The First Amendment doesn't prohibit a company, a corporation, a business, Twitter, for example, from interfering with your free speech rights. The First Amendment only prohibits the federal government from interfering with your free speech rights. You know what, Marge, let's just read the First Amendment together in case you haven't given it a look recently or perhaps ever. Here's how the First Amendment reads. You ready? Congress, that's the body that you're a member of, right? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I hope that helps, Marge. No, Twitter didn't violate your First Amendment rights. Only the federal government can do that because the First Amendment, right, number 1 in the Bill of Rights, says that, y'all, Congress, can't pass any laws abridging free speech. I hope that's helpful. Friends, elect clowns to Congress, expect a circus. I actually think Representative Jamie Raskin summed up the nature of the hearings best when he said at the beginning of the Twitter congressional hearings the following: "We return not to focus on advancing this robust agenda of progress, but instead to take up an authentically trivial pursuit, all based on the obsessive victimology of right-wing politics." So friends, it would sure be nice if the House of Representatives, sometime soon, had actual hearings of consequence, hearings that involve the issues that affect ordinary, everyday Americans, issues like the proliferation of gun violence or the easy, indeed unfettered access to assault rifles, to weapons of war. Or how about police reform? Or how about criminal justice reform? How about we have some hearings on some of those matters? Friends, sometimes all we can do is shake our heads in disbelief that members of Congress, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, apparently have no concept of how the Constitution works or how Congress works, and she is a member of Congress. But we have the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Boeberts and the Gates and the George Santoses of the world sitting in Congress. It's going to be a long couple of years, friends, but we will survive it. We will survive it. As always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with y'all again soon.